Brett Strong, Internet Skeptic. Series title 60 Seconds or Less, where I utterly destroy the world's top Christian apologists in 60 seconds or less. Up next to bat would be John Lennox. He's a professor of mathematics, I think in Oxford or somewhere over there in one of those prestigious colleges. The thing about John Lennox, the professor of mathematics, he's like Ravi Zacharias and Alistair McGrath in this way. I call him like a 1001 argument, zero empirical proof Christian apologist. John Lennox, just like Ravi Zacharias and Alistair McGrath, they'll give you 1001 arguments. Slick, clever arguments. But zero empirical proof. Matter of fact, John Lennox was asked by a young person after one of his lectures, and they just said, hey, can you give us physical evidence of this Christian God? And he admitted flat out, no. Then what the heck are you lecturing so hardcore on, John Lennox? Since you know you can't prove that your Christian God, your disembodied Christian God actually exists, and since you know the superhero, his superhero son named Jesus of Nazareth, you can't prove he exists either, then why are you so dogmatic? Why are you so hardcore? This is my question not only to you, John Lennox, but to Ravi Zacharias, Alistair McGrath, Amy Orr, her husband, Frog, Frank Tuer, Greg Gucko, Gary Habermas, William Lane Craig, Mike Lacona. All of you guys. Since you guys know you cannot prove that your disembodied Christian God exists, and you cannot prove that his superhero son Jesus exists, then why are you guys so dogmatic? Just admit the truth to all you guys, and you won't have people debating you. Just admit, hey, I can't prove this. This is a hypothesis. I'm speaking theoretically. This is what I believe. This is what I hope for. This is what I imagine to be true. Be honest. If you're that honest, I wouldn't be making these podcasts. But you guys speak all these 1001 arguments as if you're giving facts, and you're not. You're just giving arguments. John Lennox. 1001 clever arguments is not proof that your Christian God exists. It's just 1001 clever arguments. Whether somebody believes or not is up to them, but you're not giving proof, you're giving arguments. Clever philosophical arguments. But can you imagine, John Lennox, if you stood before a judge and the judge asked you point blank a question, and you threw back, or the judge said, prove it. John Lennox, prove it. You say this is true, John Lennox, prove it. And you threw back 1001 philosophical arguments back at the judge. What do you think the judge would say to you, John Lennox? He would say, are you kidding me? Seriously? I just asked you a direct question to prove what you just said, and you're going to throw back to me 1001 arguments? Seriously? Dude, you'd probably be thrown in jail for contempt of court. But this is what John Lennox... Listen to John Lennox lectures on YouTube. One time he was saying that somebody asked him, hey, describe to me, what is a Trinity? You Christians believe in the Trinity? God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, all one. He said, the guy asked him, and he said, well, you know what my reply was? I asked the guy, explain to me what energy is. Explain to me what gravity is. John Lennox, the guy simply said, explain to me what the Trinity is. You believe it. You assert the Trinity is true, John Lennox. You know that it's on the grounds that you must prove the Trinity true. Or if he's asking you, what is it, to give an accurate description. To bounce the question back is fallacious. The guy didn't start off saying energy is true and I can describe it to you, and gravity is true, I can describe it to you. No, he just simply asked you a question. Is Trinity... explain to me the Trinity. I don't understand. Explain to me. And you bounce back a question. Well, explain to me what energy is. What gravity is. That goes to show you, John Lennox. And you're a nice guy. You remind me of Santa Claus with no beard. Everyone, I love John Lennox. A nice guy, jovial guy, happy guy, Irishman. Love him. One day we can do some Irish shots and some Irish beers together. But this is a podcast, 60 seconds or less, so I gotta utterly disarm, destroy John Lennox. So I'm saying to John Lennox, first thing I would say to you, John Lennox, is this. When you say what is energy, what is gravity? Well, scientifically, we can test and measure energy. We can test and measure gravity. You cannot test and measure the Christian God, the disembodied Christian God. There is no scientific test to say, well, here's a test that we can actually test and measure the Christian God presence and see him out there disembodied. There is no test. There is no measurement scientifically. There is none. Either you believe it or you don't. But there is no proof that the Christian God exists. That's why there's no scientific test. That's why there's no scientific measurement. Because if you read the Old Testament Bible, the book of fairy tales, the Old Testament book of fairy tales, the Christian and disembodied God gave scientific evidence that he was real, and he did it over and over and over. Whether he came down himself upon a mountain, spoke, whether he did miracles through Moses or Adam and Eve walking through the garden, he gave empirical proof. But reality, nothing. You know, John Lennox, if you read the New Testament, the fairy tale New Testament, the superhero character Jesus, and the storybook Gospels, the fable book Gospels, Jesus, the fictional character Jesus, gave umpteen empirical evidence, umpteen scientific evidence that he was who he said he was. You, John Lennox, nothing. Go further. Look at Acts. So the disciples did all kind of miracles to confirm what they said was true. You, John Lennox, to confirm your words, nothing. And it's just not you, John Lennox. It's Ravi Zacharias, it's Alistair McGrath, it's Frank Turek, it's William Lane Craig, it's Gary Habermas, it's Michael Kona, it's Peter S. Williams, Peter J. Williams, it's Amy Orr, it's Mary Jo Sharp. It's all of you guys. Greg Kuko, Brent Kunkel, Sean McDowell, Josh McDowell, Lee Strobel. All you guys. You guys know, you don't give any empirical evidence to back what you're saying. You don't give any evidence. You don't bring your God, you don't bring your Jesus, and you don't do any miracles. Like walking on water. Your shadow, like the Acts says, Peter's shadow healed people. Everybody, his shadow healed people. So the Apostle Paul's handkerchief healed people. In the fairy tale book called the Bible, Old and New Testament, all kind of empirical evidence, blah, 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 blah. But in reality, all you guys, nothing. Nothing. So the very fact that John Lennox has to bounce back a question, somebody just sincerely say, "Explain to me the Trinity," and him having to bounce back, well, what is energy? Explain to me what is it, and what is gravity? Shows to me that John Lennox Lewis is bluffing, just like William Lane Craig is bluffing, and all the Christian apologists are bluffing. Just one big bluff. A 2-year-old kid can easily defeat John Lennox, just like I said, a 2-year-old can easily defeat William Lane Craig and all Christian apologists. Just prove it. That's all. I'm not asking anything fancy. Just prove it. And get this. How does John Lennox know that Christianity is true? Somebody asked him, and he said, the bottom line for me is, does it work? Basically, he's claiming William Lane Craig's personal experience. Does it works for Christianity? It works for me? It's true. Well, okay, John Lennox, I will accept that, but then you just set yourself in a trap, because when you say the bottom line for me is that Christianity works and that proves to me it's true, then hey, Muslims, Buddhism, Hindus, cultures ranging from A to Z in names, New Agers, yoga practitioners, millions of religions and cults throughout history, and yada, 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 they all claim, hey, this method, this belief system works for me. So it must be true because it works for me. So John Lennox, by you saying, well, the bottom line for me to prove Christianity is true, it works for me. William Lane Craig, the same thing. Well, I have a personal experience with this God creator. Fine, but you guys put yourself right in a very crowded place, equally with Muslims, Buddhists, people who practice Buddhism, Hindus, yada yada, New Agers, yoga practitioners, yada yada. They all claim the same thing. The bottom line for me, it works. Yoga works, so it's true. New Agers say, hey, it works for me, it's true. Spiritualists say, it works for me, it's true. Religions and cults of all kinds, it works for me, it's true. Muslim, hey, Islam is true because it works for me. Buddhism, the people who practice Buddhist, it works for me, it's true. People who practice Hindu believe in that. It works for me, it's true. See, John Lennox, you're trapped. You're a mathematician professor. And for all that knowledge in that area, when it comes to just presenting evidence, you're stuck with bouncing back answers. What is gravity? What is energy? It works for me, you know. And you're not giving anything. You're not saying anything that no one else says. Just admit, John Lennox, that you're just speaking hypothetically. You're imagining the Christian God and the superhero son is real. And that's okay. I always say it's okay to imagine. I love to see imaginative movies. We all do. Superman, Spider-Man, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man, Harry Potter, Star Wars, Narnia. It's okay to imagine, John Lennox. And it's okay to believe in your fairy tales that, hey, the Christian God, the fairy tale Christian God is real, and his superhero son Jesus is real. It's okay to believe in fairy tales like that. Just like it's okay for kids to believe in the fairy tales of Santa Claus, Easter Bunny, Tooth Fairy. It's okay. It's okay for people to believe in the fairy tale space aliens. It's okay. Just don't be dogmatic, okay? One more thing I got to say about John Lennox, professor of mathematics, I think in Oxford. He likes to say, hey, he likes to read from the book of Luke. Well, Luke said, yada, 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 so the book of Luke is true. I mean, that's insane to me. Luke said it, so it's true. Somebody 2,000 years ago, and forget Luke. Luke is a title. We don't know who wrote it. John Lennox. Show me where it says, I, Luke, wrote this. Show me the signature. Show me where it says, hey, this is signed by Luke. There is none. Luke is an anonymous book. So what you're saying, John Lennox, is, hey, this anonymous person, now get this anonymous person says it's true, so it's true. Really? Have you ever heard of Lance Armstrong? Have you ever heard of Bernie Madoff? Those guys, name in person, it's true. And they fooled legions of people. And you're going to claim somebody 2,000 years ago? We don't even know who this somebody is. This unknown person, anonymous person said it's true. And the central character is a superhero on top of that. And we're supposed to believe in this scientific age of modern medicine that he's speaking truth? This is the insane kind of stuff that Christian apologists are selling. People like John Lennox, a mathematician, a professor at Oxford. This is the redundancy, the outlandishness he's reduced to. Because the Christian God, the disembodied Christian God and his superhero son, New Testament Jesus, they're fiction. So he's reduced to just doing literally insane moves. Like, oh, Luke said it, believe. Are you kidding me? This anonymous person? Talking about some fantastical superhero flying in the air, face turning in the sun, walking on water, feeding people with 3 or 4 pieces of fish, feeding 15,000 with 3 or 4 pieces of fish, disappeared into a cloud, levitating the air behind it, floodlights saying, hey, Paul, you cut it out. Paul's like, man, the lights are so, these lights are too bright, can't see. Well, we're supposed to believe that. Oh, hey, the Gospels in Acts says it. Hey. Luke said it. And Luke wrote Acts, so he said Luke and he said Acts. You know, seriously, John Lennox? Wow. Like I said, they said it, believe it, really. Talk to Lance Armstrong. Talk to Bernie Madoff. Man, if you're that gullible, John Lennox, then hey, you know, I got some land I want to sell you in the middle of Atlantic Ocean. Charge you $5 million. I said it. Give me your $5 million and you can have it. I mean, that's just inane. But like I said, John Lennox is a nice guy, jovial guy. And it's okay, John Lennox Lewis. Lennox Lewis is a boxer. Totally different people. John Lennox. It's okay to believe in fairy tales. It's okay. It's okay to believe in the fairy tale Christian God and his New Testament superhero. So it's okay to believe in fairy tales. If that makes your life better, John Lennox, it's okay. All I'm saying is be honest that you're selling just hypothetical beings, theoretical beings. What you imagine to be true. Just be honest to the people. That's all. Just be honest. There's no wrong with honesty. Just be honest, John Lennox, and it's all good. Fantasies are good. It makes people's lives easier and better. It's okay, John Lennox. Just be honest. You don't have to give 1,001 argument. You don't have to be like Ravi Zacharias and Alistair McGrath giving 1,001 arguments and zero empirical proof. You don't have to be one of them. Just come out and say, hey, I believe this to be true. I imagine this to be true. I'm speaking hypothetically. I'm speaking theoretically. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Be honest. It's okay. Brett Strong signing off. 60 seconds or less. John Lennox, utterly destroyed. Till next time.